I found a new trail in a forest I thought I knew like the back of my hand. And for about 4 days, it made me seriously question my sanity. There's a forest near my house where I regularly walk with my dogs. I've been going there for about 5 years now, so I know it fairly well. Not to the point of being able to walk through it with my eyes closed, but I know the usual paths, the familiar trees, the places where the ground dips, the hidden streams. Oh, and the places where the dogs always seem to find the stickiest mud to roll in, that kind of knowledge. I often follow little trails made by wild animals because one of my dogs is old, she's 16 and she's blind and deaf. And those animal trails tend to be easier for her. They're narrow and not perfect, but they usually make sense. They don't require her to climb over too many things or crash through too many bushes. And it also avoids me having to carry her, which is always a bonus for both of us. So I follow those trails, often a bit randomly. And over the years, I can say I've built a fairly clear map in my mind of that forest. But one day, I found the beginning of a trail I had never seen before, even though it clearly looked like it had been there a long time. This was exciting because when you've walked the same forest for years and you think it has no secrets left for you, finding a new trail in it is like discovering a hidden room in a house you already live in. So obviously, I followed it. The trail was lovely. It felt new, different. I was looking at everything with the childlike pleasure you get when the familiar suddenly stops being familiar. And I walked like that for about 45 minutes. And then I saw something that made me stop. There was a little wooden shack there, a rundown shack, probably built by hunters decades ago and now completely abandoned. And I knew that shack. I immediately knew it because I pass it all the time when I take one of my regular trails. It's one of my landmarks. In my mind, that shack belongs to a specific route, an old route, a known route. So I stood there thinking, what the hell? How is that possible? I'm on a totally new trail. And the best explanation I could come up with was the new trail must have merged with the old one at some point. So I turned around and retraced my steps, trying to find the exact place where the new trail had joined the old one. And I found nothing. I walked back, paying attention, looking left, looking right, scanning the ground like someone who's lost their car keys. And all I could see was the old trail, the regular trail, the trail I already knew. The new trail had disappeared. So I thought, fine, tomorrow I'll come back. I'll start on the new trail again. And this time, I'll pay attention properly. I'll catch the point where it merges. So the next day, I did exactly that. I started on the new trail. I was very alert, very conscious, nobody's tricking me today, forest. I kept looking for the moment where the new trail would join the old one. And then suddenly, there I was again, next to the shack. Again, no idea how it got there. So I did what any reasonable person would do, right? I repeated the same thing 4 days in a row. And I became more and more baffled. Every day, I started on the new trail. Every day, trying to catch the transition. And every day, suddenly finding myself next to the same rundown shack with no memory of how the change had happened. And every day, when I tried to retrace my steps, I could not find the new trail in reverse. It was as if the forest was playing a very mean practical joke on me. Then one day, I started from the new side again. Same trail, same intention, same mild suspicion that I was losing my marbles, but I wasn't going to give up. I'm quite persistent like this. And I walked and walked and walked. Looked at a tree, and I said out loud, I know you. And then it clicked. I was not on a new trail that eventually merged with the old trail. I was on the old trail pretty much from the beginning. What had happened was this. The trail I normally took started from another entrance. I would walk it for about an hour, and eventually I would reach a big dip in the forest where there are lots of ferns and thorn bushes. And from that direction, it always looked like a dead end. Enough of a mess that I always assumed that the path stopped there. So I would turn around with the dogs and walk all the way back. But the trail didn't actually stop there. If I had pushed just a few meters through the ferns and thorn bushes, I would have found that it continued. And that continuation was what I had discovered from the other side. From that entrance, the little bit of hidden trail was visible enough to follow. Still a little messy, still not obvious, but visible. So when I came from that direction, I passed through it and ended up on the trail I had always known without realizing it. And here's the ridiculous part. The new trail was only about 30 meters long. 30 meters, that's all it was. All those times when I walked the regular trail and reached what I thought was the end of the path, I was actually only 30 meters from the main dirt road. I can't tell you how personally insulted I felt by those ferns. But I also couldn't stop thinking about it, because the strange thing wasn't that I had missed the continuation of the regular path. The strange thing for me was that when I took the old trail from a different side, it didn't look old at all. It looked completely new. I had been walking a path I knew well. But because the first 30 meters were different, the whole thing felt different. The forest had not changed. The shack had not moved. The trees had not rearranged themselves in the night, although for a few days I was open to that possibility. What changed was the entrance. And because the entrance changed, my experience of the whole path changed. And so, yes, I kept thinking about it, because we do this in our lives too. We often think that if something feels stale, heavy, repetitive, or blocked, we need a completely new path, a new life, a new personality, a new identity, a new routine, a new notebook, obviously, possibly a fancy new pen. We see change as something dramatic, because dramatic change feels more convincing. But the thing that changes the whole experience can be much smaller, not necessarily a brand new path, just the first 30 meters. The way something begins matters, because it nudges us into a state. And once we're in that state, we often keep interpreting everything from inside it. We don't just repeat actions, we repeat the mood those actions put us in, the posture, the expectation, the little story that starts running before we've even noticed it has started. This is why the first thing we do in the morning, for example, can matter more than we think. And I'm not saying that one small morning habit will for sure control your entire day. Life is not that tidy. You can have a very peaceful morning and still receive an email that makes you want to scream into a cushion. But the first thing we do can act like a filter. It's like putting on glasses with a particular tint. Once they're on, we forget we're wearing them. We just think, this is what the day looks like. If the first thing I do when I wake up is lie in bed, stressing about everything that needs to be done, fixed, cleaned, answered, decided, or solved, I'm entering the day through pressure. If the first thing I do is scroll through other people's lives on social media, I'm entering the day outside of myself already. If when I wake up, I rush to shower, rush to get dressed, rush to have breakfast, as if a boxing coach is standing right next to me, stopwatch in hand. I'm entering the day through urgency. The day has barely begun, and I've already put on the glasses. We often don't realize we're entering the same things in the same way. It does not feel like a repeated pattern. It feels like life, like personality, like this is just how I am. But sometimes it's only habit. The trail we always take from the direction we always take it. If your life has started to feel habitual and unsatisfying for you, initiating change doesn't necessarily mean doing something huge. It can mean simply paying attention to how you enter the next part of it. You might brush your teeth with your right hand if you're left-handed, because it makes a familiar action unfamiliar enough that you have to pay attention. And so for a moment, you're not operating entirely on autopilot. You might start work from a different chair, take a different route to your kids' school, ask a different first question when a problem appears. Instead of, why am I like this? It could be, what is actually happening here? Same situation, but a different entrance. And this matters in relationships too. We can enter the same conversation from the same place every time, already defensive, already expecting to be misunderstood, already gathering our evidence. And then, oh surprise, the conversation becomes exactly what we expected. That's partly because we walked in through the same emotional door. So maybe next time we could choose a different door. None of this is magic. It doesn't fix your nervous system, your childhood, your inbox, your relatives, or the global economy. But it can interrupt the automatic route. And sometimes that interruption is enough to let you see the familiar differently. What stayed with me from that forest adventure is how little had to change for everything to feel different. 30 meters, that was it. 30 meters at the beginning, and suddenly a trail I knew became a trail I was discovering. And so I've been thinking about the first 30 meters of a day, of a reaction, of a conversation, of the way we approach ourselves. The small beginning, the part we barely notice, the part that seems too ordinary to matter. Sometimes what changes everything isn't finding a new path. It's entering the old one differently.